Hello, everybody. It's me, Nando. I'm going to do something a little different here for the Nando Cut. I haven't done a Nando Cut video in like a month because it's the holidays. I'm busy. But I got a bunch of requests when I've been talking about comics from people that are like, Nando, what comics do you read? And I post about them, sporadically in podcasts. I'll recommend some that I'm reading. But they ask, hey, I want you to give me like some sort of video where you either give me recommendations or talk about stuff you like that are just, things that stood out to you. And I think now that we're at the end of the year, I went back, I looked at some of the comics I've read, and I have a bunch that I think I would like to, recommend, highlight. A lot of different comics, a lot of different things that, some people will be more interested in than others. And I think one of the important things about comics before we get into it is not every comic is for everyone. Right? Like, you may agree with some of my choices or like really vibe with some of them and then not vibe with other ones. And I think that's totally fine. Not just fine. I think that I encourage that. But all I mean to say is, like, if you like one of them and you go read the other one and you're like, wait, this one isn't this. They're not all the same. They're very different. Another important thing about me, I'm not a huge fan of Batman and Spider-Man. I'm not saying I don't like them as characters. I'm just saying they're not my favorite. Like they're a lot of people's favorite comic characters, and that's just not me. I would say I'm mostly an XMen fan and a lot of other DC characters. And there've been a lot of characters in here that have like won me over. I would say maybe my other kind of favorite comic characters are like, I love Catwoman. I think Catwoman's a lot of fun. They got some good Catwoman this year. Batgirl, also a lot of fun. I appreciate Batman. I do. And there have been so many good Batman stories. I have not read the Ram v. Batman comics from this year, but I did really enjoy the James Tynion Batman comics, the Detective Comics run. So I guess I do like Batman, I guess. I'm just not the kind of person that, like, when there's a new Detective Comics, I'm going to read it. I am that with XMen. So I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm leaving stuff like Batman or Spider-Man off the list, that might just be because they're not quite my thing. And if I'm putting lots of X-Men on the list and that's not your thing, you may just not care for it. Either way, way too much preamble. Here we go. So I'm just going to, there's no number. I don't know. It's probably like 11 or 12 here. And they're not in any specific order, but these are just some graphic novels, some comics. Most of them are finished. I think maybe there's one that's not completely done, but they're more or less done. And almost all of them you can buy in some sort of collection, if not yet, very soon. So, first one on the list, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is by Tom King and Bilquis Everly and Matthias Lopez. So, Tom King is one of my favorite writers, and boy, did Tom King have a year. Now, I don't know when this series started, if this started this year, but this trade paperback did just come out this year. I feel like it may have ended in like early 2022. I cannot remember, but I know I got this right before I went on vacation in the middle of the summer. It's hard to explain. Let me see if I can find a really good page that doesn't like spoil everything, but it's kind of like, it's not John Wick, but it's a very kind of contained adventure where Supergirl meets a child who's trying to get revenge and they end up working together. So it's not John Wick as much as like it's like The Professional or one of those, but like the thing that really stands out is it's a cosmic caper almost. So you're going all over the different parts of the galaxy, and the art style is just fantastic. Like, the colors are great. Obviously the pencil work and like the drawings are phenomenal, but it's got I guess one of the things that's so cool about it is it's got a really interesting, like, every place you go feels new. Every location has a really specific, I want to use the word vibe. I'm going to use the word vibe too much, but they all have very specific vibes. And I think that that's something that this book does really well. I would recommend this to pretty much everybody. I think it's pretty funny too. I think that's something Tom King does pretty well, but it's got a lot of heart. It's called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. One of the best of the year. Another one that's one of the best, and this is like probably top 3 for me. Nice House on the Lake. This is by James Tynion, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and Jordi Belair. It's a horror book. So James Tynion wrote this, Department of Truth, some Batman stuff, and it's all very, it's horror, but it's not like slasher horror. It's, what can I compare this to? It's not quite like Ari Aster. If you like those, I think you will like this, but it's got a very, it's just a very, it's both like scary, but a lot of what's scary about it are the people and the situations, but it's also very character driven. I don't know what I can compare it to. I'm sure there's something out there, some like movie or show, and it's very adult. It's a very adult book. And in the I don't want to describe it too much because you get a lot in the first issue. I believe this one just wrapped up like yesterday. The first the trade paperback for volumes issues 1 through 6, because there's 12, that is out, so you can read that. But by the end of issue 1, I think you'll get what this is and why this is cool. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's just a fascinating book. It will be a show in the future for sure. There's no way this isn't on Amazon or something soon. Another one. This is just another like favorite of mine. I kind of rifled through my, some of my long boxes to pick ones. But Human Target, and the other Tom King book for me this year that was just unbeatable. And this is the one that's not finished. There's one more issue of this, I believe. And it's a noir style detective story about the character Human Target. God, I can't remember his name. Is it Chance? No. Oh, it's a silly name. Not like a silly name, but it's one of those names where it's like Jack Russell, where it's just words. Oh man. Now I feel dumb. Let's Google this. Human Target. And they've made shows about the Human Target too. Like, he's a character that they kind of want to work, but just never quite works. His name, the Human Target's name, is Christopher Chance. Okay, I was close. Is that his name though? In the comics, it must be. But either way, this guy is. Christopher Chance is. The first is Fred Venerable. Okay, yeah. So, but that's Christopher Chance is the one I'm thinking of. Anyway, this guy is he's like a dude who is both a detective, but also what he specializes in is he can imitate people. But it's not a superpower. It's just a learned skill. And he has developed that to the point where people will hire him and have him try to slip into things and be sneaky. It doesn't matter. This book takes place in the 70s, I guess. And it's about the Justice League International, which is this really fun team where it's like, this is where Booster Gold is from, Guy Gardner, Fire, Ice, Batman's on this team. And the deal in the first issue is Christopher Chance is posing as Lex Luthor and gets poisoned. A poison that will kill him in 12 days. So it's like a very specific kind of poison. And he's like, I'm going to figure out who killed me. And because of the circumstances, he knows it has to be a member of the Justice League. And they all hate Lex Luthor, so he goes and investigates it. But like, it's by Tom King, artist by Greg Smallwood, one of the best artists in the business. And just like, look at some, let me see, I got the first one. That one's in bags, but I also have issue 7, just happened to be out. And each one focuses on a different member of the JLI. So like, this one is the Fire issue, but like, just like, look at this. It's got it's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite books. I would recommend this to anybody. I think it's really interesting. If you don't know the characters, it's still a lot of fun because you do get a pretty specific and like succinct introduction on all of them. And we're one issue from being done. I still am not completely sure who did it, although I haven't read issue 11 yet. So maybe there's more information there. What's next? Oh, this is a good one. And this one's been going for a little while, but it wrapped up this year, is Once in Future. So another writer of mine who I love is Kieran Gillen. And this book is by Kieran Gillen and Tamara Bonvillain and Dan Mora. I don't know, they kind of rhyme. But this book is, so it's 30 issues. The pitch for this is it's Men in Black, except Agent J is a redhead And the redhead part isn't that important, but like he's kind of a dorky-ish guy who, you know, he's a little bookworm, unlucky in love, and, you know, he's trying to go on a date. I think that's what he's doing in the first issue. And he is British. The whole thing's British, and he's not super into, I guess, like British lore, but he knows about it, like things like King Arthur and whatever. And his grandma shows up, and his grandma's like, "Hey, Sonny, we got to go kill all the monsters that are real things." And he's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, okay, here's the deal. In England, all of the things that you've heard of in stories like King Arthur and Merlin and Beowulf, they're all real, and they're demons. And it's my job and a couple other people, but I think most of them are dead, to kill them with magic." So she has like a shotgun, and she looks like Betty White, like it's that kind of character, with this kind of stuffy son of hers who has to take up this mantle and defend England from these guys. It's very, very funny book. The art is great. And it goes, it's like, it's a longer series, but it's I feel like it's very rewarding. And I think as someone who has read, you know, about some of these things, who's like grown up, not necessarily like an Anglophile, but like, you know, the Green Knight, Beowulf, these characters are things I've known for a while. It's very fun for one of them to pop up in the book. It's like, oh, him. Yeah, he would be a problem if King Arthur's or Merlin's the villain or whatever. I recommend this a lot. And I think, while I think this isn't necessarily for everybody, I think it's more appealing. It would appeal to more people than you might expect. If you're not a big swords and sorcery guy, like, you still may enjoy this. What else we got here? We got a bunch. We got a lot of good books here. I don't want to like put this one so close to the middle because it might be my favorite. Is 8 Billion Genies. This is, I would say, not necessarily the best book of the year, but it's a lot of people's favorite books, and I completely, like, I love it. It's by Charles Sewell and Ryan Brown. So the pitch for this one is just one day, kind of apropos of nothing, everybody on Earth gets a genie that grants them one wish, and it's this little kind of floating dude that's over their shoulder. So it's like, just what kind of chaos would that cause? And each book is, you know, like it's like 0 hour, 8 hours later, 8 days later, 8 months later. So you get to see this world really develop, and it's just so much fun. This one is already optioned on Amazon, I believe, for a series that it takes place mostly in a bar, so I could see them actually doing it pretty well until it becomes really expensive, and then I'm kind of worried. But great book. Not finished yet. There's, I think, one more left, but I love what they've done with it so far. It's so imaginative. It's such a fun premise. Speaking of fun premises, funnily hardcover, I got Catwoman Lonely City. This is actually the book club book we're doing in a couple of days. Now, I had read the first couple of issues, but I went out and got the hardcover so I could have the last issue. It's a fantastic book. Another book. So the whole thing's by Cliff Chang, and by that I mean like art, you know, writing, everything. And it's basically a story about, there was an event, I forget what they call it, the Laughing Night or something like that, where there was a catastrophe in Gotham that ended up killing Batman, and the Joker was involved, and a lot of people died. And it kind of set the city into chaos. Catwoman was arrested during that, and 10 years, I think, later, maybe 15, she gets out of jail. So she's an adult, like an older woman who is trying to figure out what happened, why Batman did this, like not only why Batman did it, but look, what Batman, he told her something as he was dying, so she's like trying to sort that out. But at the same time, she's trying to navigate this new Gotham where like different characters over time have done different things, and like certain characters have become politicians, certain ones have become, you know, kind of losers. And the evolution of Gotham is great. Also, another one with just phenomenal art. Some really fun like Batman drawings too. Like Batman's not in the book a lot, but I think one of the things I loved this year, so this is kind of what pages of it look like. I love Catwoman. I read this year. I read the Joelle Jones run. I read the another Catwoman run. I can't remember who wrote that. But I think as a character, there's something very fun about Catwoman if you don't know too much about her. She, like, because the question becomes, okay, she's a Batman villain, but hey, Batman's not around. What does she do now? And she becomes usually, she's like this working class hero who protects, sex workers or people in danger. And I love that role that she fills. And I love watching her try to figure out who she is, because she's a character who has a lot of specific identity. She's got a lot of style, but she also can change. And she's fun. Hey, we're back. It's like 2 hours later. Here's the deal. I had problems with the cord that I used to hook my camera up to powered, so I had to get my battery, which needed to be charged. So anyway, if like the framing's different or the lighting's different, that's why. But I have my stack. There's like 6 or 7 more. We're going to get through them. There's no way I was going to leave some of these guys out. First of all, X-Men. We're in the X-Men section now. Judgment Day. And not just this issue, but like everything about the Judgment Day event was very good. Since the Krakoan era has started, all of the events, so this, Ten of Swords, Hellfire Gala, have all been pretty great. And like, I think this event was very ambitious. It made me care about the Eternals, although I like what Kieran Gillen's been doing with the Eternals. And really, like I said, Kieran Gillen for Once and Future, but one of my favorite writers. And the fact that Kieran Gillen kind of took over a lot of the X-Men for this was so smart. And what they've been doing with the Eternals is very interesting. If you haven't read it, there's like a twist kind of that changes how the Eternals work and recontextualizes them, that I think is great. But also I think this event did a good job of bringing everything together, like making this, it felt like one single concise story, which is rare, that also managed to use, all the X-Men, most of the X-Men, a bunch of the Humans, and a bunch of the Avengers. So this is cool. It was a good event. Speaking of X books, Exterminators. This is by Leah Williams with art by Gomez and Valenza. I'm not sure the names. I haven't. It's in plastic. I'm not going to take it out. It's a fun book. It's silly. It's very silly. It's like adult-ish, right? Like it's not like, because I noticed this when I was reading like Catwoman Lonely City. Exterminators is still for adults, but it's also like for kids kind of, because like they curse in it, but it's bleeped out. Whereas I remember reading Lonely City and someone said I forget what someone said, but someone said a curse. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You can write these in comics. It's legal. But beyond that, it's just fun. And I like a lot of these characters. I like this characterization for Dazzler. I like the idea that like this book is about Dazzler over here, gets broken up with by her boyfriend, and her and Jubilee and Tabitha, aka Boom Boom, all go out to a bar to drink and blow off some steam and have some fun, and a calamity ensues. And it's a very fun book. It's not for everybody, but it is a fun book. I wanted to put something from Joelle Jones because I really like her, what she's doing in general. So I will put her Wonder Girl. I like this character. I like what they've done with Yara Flor. I think out of all of the legacy characters that have come up now, so like, her, the Super Sons, what's the name of the Naomi, like there have been a lot of new characters that have taken over the mantle of an older character. I think she's the one I enjoy the most just because she feels different, but still so in the spirit of Wonder Woman. And I like how her new group of people very organically builds out that universe a little bit. So now you have, her group, you have the Amazonians led by Diana, and then you have, I can't ever remember their name, where Nubia is from. And then there's also, I guess, because Cheetah's got her own group too. Where's Nubia from? I'm gonna Google this. This is all real time. I'm not doing editing to this, because I'm lazy. No, because I want to get this done toward the end of the year. I want to say, I guess, is she an Amazon? I thought she was from a different group. Right, because she's from the floating island. Yeah, where is that? I don't know. But it's a different thing. It doesn't make a difference, but I do think, I just, what I'm getting at is, I remember recently there was a book, there was a couple of Wonder Woman books where the covers were like Yara Flor, Nubia, and Diana, I assume. And it was like, these are three very separate, very different, but also all interesting cultures that exist that are all kind of like, you see them and you're like, oh, that could rival what the Amazons have built up. So it's cool. I don't know. Like Joel Jones, like the art a lot on this book. I wish there was more Wonder Girl, but there's just not. Speaking of the Super Sons, this isn't my favorite ongoing story, but I do think, like, God, was this even this year? Was this year? I'm going to leave this in video if it's not. But the Superman 5, Son of Kal-El, him coming out issue was good. It was very good. It was a good issue. And it's a cool thing that they did. And I think it's good. Everybody on the team did a good job with it. And yeah, I enjoy the character of Jonathan. I think I'm on the same team as people who say they wish we got to see him grow up organically. Like, this time jump thing is, feels a little, it doesn't feel rushed, but it feels like it's clear that they wanted someone who could be the next Superman, and that couldn't be a 14-year-old or whatever. But, I don't know. Looking back, I just think it's interesting. Only a few more of these left, so we're flying through. One Star Squadron. This one's by Mark Russell, with art by Steve Lieber and Stewart. And this book is great. I cannot say enough nice things about this book. It's from the perspective of the Red Tornado, who there was an old group called I think it was the All-Star Squadron. It wasn't the 5-Star Squadron. I can't remember. I think it was All-Star Squadron. And this is kind of a play on that, where Red Tornado creates a group of superheroes that their job is, like, they need a day job. So they create kind of an office where you can book them for, like, parties or security or stuff like that. And Red Tornado has a tough time with it. Power Girl's in this book. And there's a lot of other pretty obscure Heckler is one of them. So, like, obscure characters play into this. But this was 6 issues. So it's, again, so much of what DC's done with these short series has been so, like, it's worked out so well. But first of all, the art is gorgeous. I don't know if you can see that. MODOK behind me is by Steve Lieber. So I'm very happy about that. But the book, I remember reading it and going, this is pretty cool. I like this. But book 6, the final book, is very touching. And it comes to an interesting, like, point and says something a little interesting about superhero genre. Oh, someone wants attention. Hi. It says something interesting about the superhero genre that you don't see a ton of, but I think, like, something like this as a show, this premise of, these guys just trying to get along, but also with this philosophy of, like, they're not perfect, but also they can solve problems, and, like, how can someone, like, in their position where you're not Superman, how do you do the most good? What makes you super? And I think that's great. Like, I really think it's got a great conclusion. Yeah, it's 6 issues, so it's super easy to read. She-Hulk. I love She-Hulk. We got this new ongoing from Rainbow Rowell, Roger Antonio, Luca Maresca, and Rico Renzi. I like it when they put all the full names on the covers. But this book is, so I love She-Hulk. I've read most of the books about She-Hulk, except for the ones in the Avengers. I haven't read all of them. But, like, this book it's interesting because it's not your average superhero book, but also it's not your average She-Hulk book. This is not like, if you like the Dan Slott She-Hulk stuff, where he, has her being a lawyer and there's lots of the law firm stuff, that's not in here. This is very slice of life. It's very much about, someone wants to be on my lap. Okay, is that what we're doing? I'm telling you, we're not editing this because I want this out today. So here we go. We got a cat here. So She-Hulk is known for being, now it's like it's the one that broke the fourth wall, but also she's a lawyer. And in this, she's not really doing much lawyering. It's very much a slice of life, like romantic comedy about her kind of finding her place in the world. And also after the events of, after Immortal Hulk, but also dealing with, like, what I like about this book, and this is number 3, but number 1 starts with her and Titania having a big fight. And at the end of it, Titania is like, are you doing okay? Like, something's up. Like, you're all right? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And by the end of the book, she's kind of, like, broken down a little bit into this, I guess what I think is cool about She-Hulk is that she's not perfect. She's never written that way. Her problems are both like real problems, but also they're just interesting. Like she is one of the more powerful, more capable Avengers. Obviously she's got Hulk powers, but also she's really smart and she has a good job and stuff. And, that might not all be going super well for her now, but it's like, she still is at the heart of her, like this character, like the Hulk, who struggles with issues of identity and, can I be happy? What makes me happy? What do I do with my life when I'm like not being an Avenger? And then what is really interesting about this book and why I think I chose this cover is because Jack of Hearts comes back, who is a character who, if you remember the 90s and the Avengers disassembled era, like before that, is a very strange little guy who came and went, and he just shows up again, and the book turns into a rom-com. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun, and I like that I like that every She-Hulk book not only feels different tonally, because they get really like smart writers on this, like Charles Sewell, who wrote the 8 Billion Genies, also wrote a really cool She-Hulk run, but it also feels just different. It's like a different genre of book that you don't see that often. All right, this is the final edit because the card got full. So I have 2 more. I'm almost done, but luckily I was able to remember another one that I didn't have, so I was like, good. Now I got a more complete list. Okay, so other ones we want to highlight here. Wonder Woman Historia, very cool book. It's the history of the Amazons, so it's like their origin, but it's told in what is a very like high mythological style, but also just the art is insane. First of all, it's another one of these books. There's a couple of these. Catwoman was this, where it's a big square book, not a complete square, but not the usual layout, and they're able to put so much onto these pages, and the way these panels are laid out is fantastic. But like the amount of color can almost be overwhelming, but it's kind of supposed to, because this is the gods. This is, giant cosmic history happening here. But like, look at stuff like this. It's so cool. It's it's a phenomenal book. They just ended the 3rd one. I don't know how many they're doing. I'm going to assume it's 3. So there's probably going to be some sort of hardcover coming out of this, and I would definitely recommend getting it. If you can get your hands on the other ones, then go for it. But I imagine they're probably pretty tough to find. What else we got here? Oh, these guys. So Peach Momoko has been making books that are kind of, I don't know what to call them, Elseworlds stories that take the familiar Marvel characters and set them in old school kind of, samurai Japan. And it's a very, there have been, like, this is part of a line of books that are, the main story was about, it's the one where Logan is a dog, and it has characters like Thor shows up, Storm, Black Widow, but it's story-wise, I think it's fine, but the art is pretty incredible, and it does feel, I don't know how she makes these. I would assume it's painted. Like, I'm going to open this one up. I know I said I wasn't opening these up, but here we are. Like, it looks like it's all watercolor. I'm sure it's not. Well, I'm sure it's not. I would imagine it's not. But, like, it has that soft texture that you would expect from watercolors, and just like not coming straight out of a tablet, but like you can see it a little bit here. I don't know if this is super clear, but it's the way that the lines, or the way that the colors all kind of fade into each other, blend into each other. It feels like it's an authentic, like painting from this era. So it's very cool. They're making a Civil War one of these. I don't know when that comes out. I don't know if it's out yet. But I bet it's out pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, I cannot think of too many other books. The only other book that I want to give a half rec to is Rogues by Joshua Williamson Lemoux. Matthew Lopez and Jason Woodry. So I just bought this like yesterday, and it's the story of Captain Cold 10 years after having to quit because he got caught and getting out of jail and stuff, going on doing one last heist. And the thing with this book is, because I think it's 6 issues and I think I'm 2 in, I can't tell what the direction is. I don't know how the book feels about Captain Cold bringing these people back into crime, especially a lot of them having been out of it. But I love the idea of the rogues as a concept, like these Flash villains who have, they have this history. They're very frequently working together because they know, like, listen, I probably can't kill the Flash. You probably can't. But if 6 of us work together, we can do it. And so it's like the Sinister Six with Spider-Man, but also I'd say some of the powers for these guys are fun. And I've always liked the rogues designs. The same way that like the Spider-Man villains, they don't like all look the same, but they're all green and purple and orange. I think the rogues are like those big flashy primary colors. Like they look like a rainbow because you got the blue one, Cold, you got the gold one, Golden Glider, you got, Weather Wizard is green and white. The top I think is also green and white. Mirror Master's the orange and green. Like it's just a really colorful group of people. And that's not exactly the team comp here, but also this book is, I don't know what the style that you would call this book is, but it's got a very animated style. It's got a lot of energy. But it also seems to like, that's why I would say based on the way that they draw some of these guys, I'm like, is the book trying to make Snart out to be the villain in this? Like are the self-destructive tendencies, does the book going to come out at the end and say like, that was bad that he did this? Like, don't abuse everyone you know, or is it going to be like, nah, sometimes you got to do a heist, or is he going to learn a lesson? I don't know. But so far, it's a cool book. I got a half off at Barnes & Noble, which was great because they were doing a big sale on hardcovers. And yeah, I mean, there's so many other comics that I cannot even think about them all. Like, there's so many X-Men comics, Marauders, Legion of X, Knights, which I think is now going to be the new. It was Excalibur, then it was Knights of X, and now I think it's the Captain Britain book. All good. I'm sure there's plenty there. Oh, and Batgirls. I love Batgirls, but I read that exclusively on the app. And like I was saying, Batgirl's one of my favorite, Barbara. But the other 2 Batgirls, Cassandra, and Stephanie Brown are very fun. It's another book that has a great balance of being, I'll put a picture up, but it's got a great balance of taking itself seriously enough. Like, these guys have responsibilities. They're superheroes. They're trying to save people. They're in danger, but also they're having fun. 2 of them, Cass and Steph sharing a bunk bed causes troubles. Like, it's kind of zany. And I really like the direction that book has been going in. And also it's got this very, I would say, aggressively angular art style that makes all of the movement seem very, like, it just makes everything seem super dynamic. And when you have characters like Stephanie and Cassandra, who are, the Cassandra's like a ninja assassin, they're going to be jumping around screen, kicking guys and doing backflips. So it looks cool. It's a cool looking book. So yeah, I mean, 2022, fantastic year for comics. I don't know what a bad year for comics would look like. I don't think I've lived through one. And I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 that I've forgotten, especially if they're from the beginning of the year, because I don't know what those books would be. And there's also books I own, like it's sitting here right now, The Many Deaths of Lila Starr by Ram V, which I've heard nothing but good things about. I just have not read it yet. But there's lots of great books that have come out this year that I've had an awesome time reading, and I'm sure will be like, there'll be more cool stuff next year. Like, there's a Scarlet Witch book coming out by Steve Orlando, who I love, who's doing Marauders now. So that's great. And, just comics are awesome. Read more comics. If you don't read comics, you should read them. If you don't want to buy the books, I get it. It's an expensive hobby. Use the app. It's very, like, most of the books you want to read are there. And there's even like a new DC version where it costs no money. Like, not costs no money, excuse me. You don't wait. It costs a little bit more money, but like, you get a book a week after it hits the shelves, which is insane. And if you want to read some of these books with us, with me and like the members of the book club, we do a book club. This month is Lonely City. We're doing it in about a week from when this video comes out. But we just read these books, talk about them. Sometimes we do older ones. We did Miracle Man last month, so we wanted to get ready for the new Miracle Man comic that just came out, which I have not read yet. But we do, we have polls. We kind of decide. We did a Namor the Submariner, the Depths book, which was cool, kind of like almost, it's not really eldritch horror, but it was an undersea horror, kind of like Aliens, honestly. But if the alien was just Namor. So that was very cool. And who knows what we're going to do? Like, we did Paper Girls. That was one we did this year. So basically, comics are great. I love comics. And if you have suggestions, put them in the comments. If you have other comics that you've read or comics on this list that you're like, oh, I didn't know about that, let me know. And continue to watch videos and like videos and stuff. And I will see you guys all in 2023. I have so much cool stuff planned. You have no idea. You really don't. And it's going to be great. So I hope everybody has a great, safe, fun, happy New Year's, and I will see you guys in 2023. Goodbye.